Well, it's been almost 180 days and the tempest of illegal mining is still raging. We've had a promise from the president who said in 121 days, this was what he was going to do. Ban illegal mining and new mining activities in forest reserve. But as it stands now, close to about 180 days or 280 days, nothing seemed to be working on the tangent of illegal mining. They've chalked some level of successes. And here on PM Express, we brought to you the good, the bad, and the ugly analysis. We've seen what is going on and the devastation that is being caused to our water bodies and lands. But tonight we have a new call, a new wavelength to stand on, because TUC and organized labor are about to bite again. They're about to strike, and what they are saying is that they need some form of reform in terms of the fight against galamsey. They say we are issuing a strong caution and urging the president to act without delay on galamsey, and they say that immediate action needs to be taken. What does that mean in terms of that immediate action that organized labor TUC is demanding for? And we understand that they say that, well, at the moment, the president may have done his own analysis and say that, well, we are following steps and we don't think that we are there yet. But TUC says that the call for a state of emergency isn't just urgent, but also very, very necessary. And so if the president is listening to them, they have this call for him that a state of emergency isn't only urgent, but at this moment is very necessary, because they know and they've seen what is happening. They've seen the stability levels of our water bodies. They've seen lands being taken over by illegal miners. But the president said when he met the media, he said that, well, he is not ruling out the possible or the chance of, declaring the state of emergency. But he says that at the moment, they are deploying or they are using procedures step by step. And currently, the president says that, well, if I hear from the National Security Council that where we are or where we have reached, they believe that a state of emergency should be declared, the president says he is going to act on that advice. But tonight, we are not getting that caution or advice from the National Security Council, but rather from TUC and organized labor, because what we know is that the devastating impact of illegal mining is continuing to spread across the length and breadth of the country. All 16 regions, or a part of, majority of the regions we have are currently being affected, especially the northern, the middle, and then also the western belt of the country, and the eastern parts of the country also being affected by illegal mining. And as we speak now, 18 major river bodies that we are tracking here at JoyNews have been affected by illegal mining. Let me give you a breakdown of what Ghana Water Limited is saying about the river bodies that have been affected so far. This is what Ghana Water Limited is telling PRC, and they say that if you look at Kibi in the eastern region, in terms of where illegal mining, there are plants that have been heavily affected by illegal mining. Their plant at Kibi in the eastern region has been affected, Bonsu, Osino. In fact, they go through and you can see 10 of them, at least 10 of them that the Ghana Water Company actually mentions in their proposal that they sent to the PRC when they were making that justification for their upward adjustment in tariff. They say that if you look at all of these 10 plants, 10 water treatment plants that are across the length and breadth of the country, their assessment shows that they've been affected, heavily affected by illegal mining activities. And we know the power of TUC or organized labor, and in fact that's the reason why we are having a conversation tonight, because TUC or organized labor looks like that organization that has what we call the nuclear weapon in this country when you want to put a stop to something. In fact, that track record they have when we talk about the sale of the Snit Hotel. So remember that incident. TUC or organized labor came out to say that, well, if you go ahead with the sales, what we are going to do is to strike. They threatened that strike, and within 12 hours, what we understand was that, or what we know for a fact was that that sale was actually halted, and the Smith hotels were not sold. In fact, so if you are looking for track record and you are looking for how powerful organized labor or TUC can be, that is an example that I'm citing for you, that if you record that incident on the sale of the Smith hotels, TUC organized labor came through and we had that suspended. But it's a different conversation around illegal mining. Do they have that credibility? Do they have that moral right to even come out again to demand for a state of emergency? Why? Because they've been there before, and in fact, we've been doing the math, and you can record that it's been exactly a year that TUC or organized labor made a similar call. And when they said, they came out with a number of demands, including a declaration of a state of emergency, and they told the president around somewhere September last year that if you don't solve illegal mining, or if you don't possibly, declare a state of emergency, what we're going to do was to go on strike. They went ahead, and somewhere in October, what we are learning, or what we understand around that time, was that TUC or organized labor went to the negotiation table with government, and government came out with measures that they believed that they were going to use to solve the illegal mining menace. And it's been 12 months on. The problem has actually worsened. If you see the turbidity levels, especially if you go to the central region, especially the Konyakun water treatment plant that has currently been shut down, and a number of people in the western region, Swedro, Konyakun and its environs, have been affected. TUC is here again, organized labor is here again, making similar requests a year on. But what do we know so far in terms of the fight against illegal mining? The lands minister has been speaking, and he says that, well, if you look at the devastation and where we are at the moment, we need about $10 billion to tackle this issue head on. And it includes a number of things. Land reclamation and so many other things are included in this cost that the lands minister actually spoke about. And in fact, this figure is huge. And many are saying that, well, the government actually promised that they were going to recover about $21 billion from the oral. So if you are recovering that amount of money from oral, use a portion of that to solve illegal mining, because there are those who say that they are not willing and they are not ready to pay for this cost, in terms of whether it being a burden on government as a public expenditure or a tax handle. They are not willing to pay this cost. And in fact, if you care to know, the Ghana Water Company Limited, or the Ghana Water Limited, is saying that, well, if you continue to go with the business as usual in terms of the fight against illegal mining, they will be compelled to cough up about 8.7 billion Ghana cedis in terms of operational costs this year for most of their plants. And we already know that the cost of they buying chemicals to treat the water that comes to our homes is increasingly becoming very expensive. And this year, they've come out with their projection. And it's part of the reason why they went to the PRC to demand for that mammoth adjustment in tariff. And we know that the minister, when yesterday he spoke to the media, said that, well, if you look at the number or the quantum of destruction in terms of our lands, we can talk about some 5,500 hectares of land that have been affected so far by illegal mining. And if you care to know, if you want to really pictorialize this, it's about 7,500, football fields. Just look at the Accra Sports Stadium where the Black Stars played yesterday. 7,500 of that, in terms of the size of the field, have been, affected by illegal mining. And that is where we are at the moment in terms of the devastation. But we understand that this is what government believes that they are going to go ahead in terms of the steps they are taking. I'll ask organized labor and those, my guests, when they join me, do they believe in this, raft of measures that the government is putting out? The president himself spoke about it. Does it sound like a deja vu? We will be analyzing it. He says that they are going to deploy troops to mine all zones. That is number one. The president has said that. 24-hour toll-free reporting line. the president said that 9 months is working, and in fact revoke LI 2462. Last year, when the conversation came to the front burner, this was one of the demands by TUC and organized labor. It's still there. That law is still in existence. The president says that steps are being made to actually, revoke that law. Forces public tribunals for galamsey cases, and we understand a number of, galamseyers have been arrested so far. A number of them also standing trial. Government says that they are committed. They want to make sure that they have a tribunal for galamsey cases. And if you look at the decontamination of water bodies, which that conversation that was had around the term for this process, but not just the term, but also the cost involved, because in other jurisdictions like the US and other places where these exercises have been done, if you look at the quantum of destructions we've actually caused to our water bodies, in the US, one river costs around $200 million US, and just look at our destruction, and the question is, how much will it even cost for us to, decontaminate our water bodies? Is that the reason why the lands minister is quoting that $10 billion US as the amount we need to fight illegal mining? There's also higher budget allocation next year for the fight against illegal mining. We understand the 2026 budget will be read soon, possibly next month or maybe this month. The promise by the finance minister was that it will be read this month, but we are looking at next month. The president is promising that, well, we are going to allocate money for the fight against illegal mining, because he's already said that if you look at our troops, they are already stretched. Just look at across the length and breadth of the country, where because of conflicts and other chieftaincy disputes, we have to, spread thin our troops. And the president says that is making it very difficult to even get some of the troops to go out to fight this illegal mining menace. But that is the promise that the president has made so far in terms of budgeting higher amount of money for the fight against galamsey, next year. So that will be our conversation, that renewed call from TUC and organized labor. They've been here before last year, but the key question is, what has changed? Should we trust them? And what power do they have this time around? Last year, we saw them to be that nuclear weapon in terms of the fight against galamsey. They came out to strike, but we still have the issue hanging around our necks like an albatross. We will have a conversation tonight and ask all the important questions. After this short break, my guest will join me. Thank you very much for staying with us here on PM Express. And as you always know, PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Tank. It is strong, it is tough. Academic Times, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter Toothpaste. And now, Ghana, let's talk, water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. And that's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex Tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntex Tank has your back. Syntex Tank is strong, is tough. And academic papers are very important. That's why the Academic Times Journal is launching soon with 3 distinctive graphic publications and a journal to showcase and empower students across all educational levels. While the journal and the tertiary G seeks to ensure that tertiary students' research make an impact, that is the aim of Academic Times. Now, every time we eat, food and sugars are trapped, between our teeth, leading to tooth decay, gum disease, and in some cases, unfortunately, foul breath. Brushing your teeth every morning at night with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter gives your teeth the protection they need, leaving your teeth with 10 times strong. A 10 times strong teeth. Now, Pepsodent says that every smile matters. My guests have joined me. Dr. Mauli Lumo is the head of policy, planning, and research monitoring and evaluation at the Water Resource Commission. He is in studio with me. Abraham Kumsin is the general secretary, Ghana Federation of Labour, TUC, will be on Zoom with us. Dr. Bernard Tutu-Boahene is Vice President, UEW branch of UTAG. He is in the studio with me. And Dr. Kwabena Nyakun Otu, he is the Deputy Secretary General of TUC. He will also join us via Zoom. Gentlemen, you're welcome to PM Express. And I don't know where to start, but I mean, this whole call feels like a deja vu. I remember last year there were similar calls. I mean, the CSO started, Labour came in, you got the backing of, the Catholic Bishop Conference. At that point in time, everybody said that you had that nuclear weapon to end illegal mining, especially looking at the fact that we were in an election year. We're just about 2 or 3 months to the 2024 election. But you went to sit at the negotiation table and agreed with what government, the plan that government had put in place. This time around, what is different?
Good evening once again. Good evening to Doc.
Good evening.
And good evening to our viewers. A special good evening to University of Education, Winneba community. My Vice Chancellor, Professor Mitchell, special greetings to him. I think that yes, this whole issue about galamsey, from times past, even until present, has become a kind of albatross around the neck of not just organized labor, but governments in the past, and again, stakeholders in the mining industry. When you look at, I come from a mining community.
Yeah.
I grew up at Asante Achem, Konongo, and mining, I think that Konongo was the first mining town, Konongo and Ubin-Mase, by these Australian miners. And one of the things that they couldn't deal with was galamsey. So even when they were gone, galamsey became more or less like a kind of an industry.
And I'm not sure it was of the same style.
Yeah, so I'll get to that.
Impact.
Yeah, I'm just trying to trace the issues. So growing up, I knew that galamsey was done. But even at that time, it was done undercover. And it wasn't as we are seeing it, now. Some people may probably ascribe the fact that what we are seeing, the pictures we are seeing, is because of the advent of technology. But again, I must say that the devastation then cannot be compared to what we are seeing now. But I must also put on record that, Konongo has been one of the communities that has been hard hit, by galamsey. At a point in time, all the river bodies in Konongo were gone as a result of galamsey. If we check beyond Konongo to Petiensa, the river body there is gone. And so I think thanks to President Mahama, who constructed, some boreholes, for the people of Konongo to have access to drinking water.
That was in his first term, or now?
That was in his first term. Now, moving on, you realize that, look, I don't want to go into the 1800s, right? Because the records are there. But then, again, when we check in recent times, from 2010, up to 2016, from 2017 up to today that we sit, you would see that some level of technology, has been included in the act of galamsey. And that is why you see that the coming of the Chinese to Ghana, the increasing, trend of, how do you call it, unemployment. And the fact that, people have also seen that probably galamsey is a shortcut, to making riches, are some of the reasons, that have actually contributed to, the large scale, wholesale, let me say, the wholesale, that we see in galamsey. Now, you realize that we actually came to terms with galamsey in 2023, 2024, 2025. Why? Because that was when research came out for us to know that people living around galamsey areas are actually suffering. One, pregnant women are not giving birth to, let me in quote, decent, babies. Decent babies means, where you have a baby.
So many deformities.
Without deformity. All right. So you give birth, and this is what you are seeing. Gone were the days they could have called such babies as children of the gods. We have also seen in recent times that it is not just about the destruction of the forest. Beyond that, beyond the destruction, our food is equally being contaminated with
But Doc, I'm sure you agree with me that this is not new. It is not coming in 2025. That is why your organization, TUC and UTAG that you belong to, made that call in 2024 that if government was not solving the issue, you were going to go on strike. You went to sit at the negotiation table, you agreed on certain terms with government, and then you abandoned the strike. Many said around that time that you had the nuclear weapon to end galamsey.
I think I heard you right in your first question. So I'm just building my...
No, because of time.
Okay. Fast track. Okay. What it means is that when we went in fact, UTAG had announced that idea of going on strike, all right, for the purposes of galamsey. And then we realized that TUC and other, unions wanted to also go on strike. Now, as one of the wings of TUC, UTAG, and organized labor, we felt that UTAG alone wouldn't give us that kind of strength. So we joined forces with, organized labor, and for that matter, TUC. Then we realized some level of betrayal.
Okay.
Betrayal because I think that they had already had an engagement.
So when you say betrayal coming from which part of the organization?
From the hierarchy of TUC.
TUC.
Yes.
So you are putting the blame on the doorsteps of TUC in terms of where the...
No, I'm not blaming. It was the fact.
Betrayal.
No, it is not as if I am blaming them. Okay, it was something that actually happened.
But you speak about betrayal, and you said that was from the quarters of TUC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not tracking. Okay, I'm not backtracking. What I'm saying is that when we had joined them, what happened was that TUC was going to have a meeting. That's what I mean by the betrayal. With other union members without informing UTAG initially. So we got wind of that meeting, and then we made certain calls. I think it was through Professor Jampo, And then they now said that, yes, the meeting is coming up, so we should go. Ideally, the national president for UTAG was supposed to have been there. But because at that time we were housed at UDS, Tamale, so he couldn't have flown from that time within that short period. So Professor Jampo and then one other, I think the secretary for University of Ghana, went for that meeting. Now in that meeting, According to the report that we had, you understand, I am basing my reports or what I'm saying based on the report that was given to us. So according to the people that we delegated, the national president delegated, that is Professor Jampo and Jerry, it came out clear that TUC leadership had probably agreed on what they wanted to say on that day. And so they were not even given that chance and opportunity to put their views in there. So I think that when they came out, they had an engagement with even the media, all right? And based on that, they gave us our reports. So that was when we felt that we have been betrayed. So we went through the, how do you call it, the UTAC processes, you know, to also isolate ourselves from the position of organized labor, and for which we also decided that we will go solo with our own strike as we had earlier planned. So we went through the process, and if you remember, UTAC went on strike. You understand? So it is not as if that we had an initial engagement with government, you know, and then we decided no. So if you remember, you will see that TUC even called off their strike when UTAG was still
on strike. Yeah, let me bring in TUC at this point, because you said that you suffered some level of betrayal, and that came from TUC. So let me bring in Dr. Nyakotu, who is the Deputy Secretary General for TUC. Doc, I mean, 2024, I'm sure you remember, and many Ghanaians are saying that what is happening at the moment, the course that we are getting feels like a deja vu, because we were there in 2024. That was an election year. You had every, weapon to actually end galamsey, especially with your strike. Here we are finding out from UTAG saying that they suffered a certain level of betrayal from you. And you are here again making similar calls. How do we even, trust that TUC this time around will go through the demands they've put on the table? And how do you respond to the betrayal, allegations laid tonight here by, UTAG?
No, please let me make this clear. I am not speaking on behalf of UTAG.
UTAG.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, you can respond to the question.
Hello?
Doc, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you for having me. And thank you for actually having this conversation about galamsey. Let me indicate that the allegation that the TUC betrayed UTAG, and for that matter, the rest of organized labor, is a baseless allegation. It has no merit. What really happened in 2024 was that, unions have what we call core issues. So core issues like things to do with wages, salaries, working conditions, benefits. And from our own experience, it is always easy to get unity of unions and workers around those core issues. But when it comes to a non-core issue like galamsey, and I say non-core because that is not what unions are formed to fight for, even though it is an important existential problem. But it is not core to what we do as union. When it comes to those issues, it's always difficult to maintain the unity of unions and also of workers around those issues. And clearly, in 2024, this is what played out. The unity question was clear, or we were not united on the issues. Politics had entered the fray. Some other unions within organized labor had declared their own stand. They were not going to go with the strike. Some issued statements abandoning the strike action. And it will interest my colleague in the studio to know that none of the TUC unions actually issued a disclaimer or issued a statement saying that they will not be part of the strike.
But I mean, Doc, this is organized labor. How did this happen?
Yes, it happened because, as I've indicated, this is not wages and salaries. If it's wages and salaries, those are the air traffic control unit at Kotoka International Airport have a stake in it. Those in the mines have a stake in it. Those at the port have a stake in it. The teachers have a stake in it. But if it's galamsey, there are some people who may think that it is far removed from them, even though that might be a myopic view. But it is what it is. So what the point I'm saying is that if it is not a core issue like wages and salaries, for which unions are trained and for which unions actually were established to address, it is always difficult to maintain unity around those issues. Now, fast forward in 2025, you will agree that even with that aborted strike action, we agreed on a number of things with government. But fast forward into 2025, it is now clear to everybody that those things we agreed with government did not keep its part of the bargain. And to the extent that today, the galamsey situation is getting out of hand.
But I mean, you reached this agreement in October, I remember around October 9th, October 10th last year. We were just about 2 months into the election. Did the government give you timelines?
Yes, in some of the cases, government gave us timeline. For example, on the day we actually held a press conference to abort the strike, to suspend the strike, we had a letter from the president, the then president, indicating that Airline 246-2 had been suspended. We had that letter on a green letter from the president. The president indicated, and if you can check the papers, that they had deployed security men along our water bodies and forest reserves. Okay. And that the suspension of the airline was pending its final revocation when Parliament reconvenes. Okay. So there were a number of things we were expecting government to do. And if government were to be continuous, then we expect the new government that came in with a lot of euphoria and a lot of expectation to carry on with the things that the previous government.
So at what point? At what point did you realize that government had failed you?
At what point? Okay, if you care to know, in May this year, during the May Day address of the Secretary General, which is an address read on behalf of organized labor, we had indicated the failure of government to actually revoked the airline, which had permitted mining.
But Doc, you agree with me that government had up until maybe December 7th, that was the election date. Why wait until May when we had entered a new year and elections were over and politicians had gone to sleep?
I mean, the point, we should not delude ourselves into thinking that even the declaration of strike and the call for, emergency powers 2 months close to election was itself an easy route to go. We knew the implications of even calling for the president assuming emergency powers in certain parts of the country, given that you have just barely 2 months to an election. So all of that were factored in our decision to back down on the strike. But of course, most importantly, we were certain that government was going to do. And in fact, we should again give us some credit. Within those first 2 months, a lot of movements were done, a lot of things were done. Or at least we were made to think that a lot of things were being done on the ground to stop illegal mining. Only for us to realize that actually, once we got into the election fever, not much was being done. And as I've indicated, as far back as May, we realized that all those things were not done. The suspension of the airline only remained a suspension. But in fact, all those that had been given licenses under the airline were still operating in the forest.
Okay, I'll come back to you on the point of the airline, but let me bring in Mr. Abraham Kumsin at this moment. I mean, you heard there from your colleague who said that, I mean, government gave them timelines. There were timelines. And in fact, you had up until like 7th December to actually see some level of improvement, but you had to wait until May before you came to tell Ghanaians that government had failed. How do we trust you this time around?
Oh, you see, let me address the earlier the Vice President of UTAC said about it. Betrayal. It was not the TUC that betrayed the cause.
So who did?
No, it wasn't the TUC that caused the suspension of the Nostra action. It was the Ghana Medical Association and then the next.
No, I'm struggling to hear you, Mr. Kumsen. If you can come again on that point. You are blaming the Ghana Medical Association and one other group. I didn't get that point clearly.
Ghana Registered Nurses Association. The nurses.
The nurses.
And the Ghana Medical Association.
So
see, what you want to embark on such action, you are saying it's a very powerful weapon, and if the weapon is not well maintained, it cannot fire. And normally, when you want to achieve results, organized labor must, work together and make sure that we address whatever concerns that we want to deal with it. But if medical personnel opt out, it weakens organized labor. There's nothing that we have done at that yet. So if I hear Ghana Medical Association and nurses making noise this time around, I just don't take them serious.
So you're making the point that sort of collective power that you had somewhere September, October last year, it was actually derailed by the decision by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association and the Ghana Medical Association to actually say that they will not be part of the fight. Did you ask them why?
Yes, I was at the meeting which took place at the TUC hall there. But that's why even Professor Jambo got annoyed and even left the meeting. Because he felt that, why? We all agreed that this is the way to go. Then, suddenly, the nurses president got up and declared that they were not going to be part of this whole thing. That's what happened. I was there myself. So it's from the TUC that, in fact, unfortunately, people were even accusing the leadership that they have been influenced, they have been bribed, that sort of, which wasn't true. I don't know. But I know that it was the Ghana Medical Association and the nurses that undermined the whole action that we wanted to take. But that aside, you see, at the moment, we have to really sit up well and make sure that we address this concern. And I disagree with my colleagues who are calling for a state of emergency. I disagree with them.
Hold on. I mean, Mr. Abraham, I mean, just a year ago, you were part of a group that was calling for a state of emergency, revocation of the LI 246, and you are saying that a year on, you don't believe in calling for a state of emergency. Why?
This is the government that has been in power for 8 years. At the point, we read a report written by Professor Watson, accusing the presidency of being involved. So the reason why we felt that the state of emergency would have addressed this issue was if the presidency itself is involved. I mean, then what measures would they put in place that would deal with this issue? That's why we felt that if these people are really serious in addressing these galamsey issues, then they should declare state of emergency. We knew that when this court, they won't do it because they were deeply involved in the galamsey issue.
So my question to you is, did you call for that state of emergency based on the level of devastation or simply because the government had been in office for 8 years?
For 8 ADS and they themselves were involved in the galamsey activity. They were involved, deeply involved. But as compared to this current administration, what do you want them to do?
But you also agree with me that this government you accuse of being involved in illegal mining is out of office now. It's been more than 8 months. We have a new government. Stability levels are on the rise. Very, very scary. And you still believe that we don't need a state of emergency?
So the state of emergency, as I said, the previous administration, government, we knew that they themselves were deeply involved. The government was deeply involved in the galamsey. That's how we felt that, look, the women insist that they declare state of emergency. So all of them will cost.
Are you by any means saying that we don't have members of this administration also being involved in illegal mining? I mean, if I recall, 2 of the executives of the NDC have been referred to the AG for investigation.
No, the presidency is very active. They are proactive. They will not, if they hear it's a rumor. People suspect. And the president will make sure that action is taken. To ascertain whether what he is hearing is true or false. But as of now, has there been any report that truly the name that came up, the people are involved? No. But this one, there was an official report by Professor Watson mentioning names and showing places where the activities are going on. Now, you see, we don't have enough time. So let me look at CR research and known what prevails in China. China, the whole world. China produces the largest gold in the whole world. You know what they are doing there. Have they declared state of emergency?
But I'm not sure China is destroying their water bodies and lands like the way they are doing. Stay with me. I'll come to you. Let me now go to.
It is the message that.
All right. I want to bring in Dr. Lumo at this point. He believes that we are not at the stage where we need to call for a state of emergency. You have the data in terms of the status of our water bodies at the moment. What is the data telling us? Are we better off or we've actually worsened?
I wouldn't say we are better off or we are worsened because it keeps fluctuating.
Okay.
And then also depending on government action. Typically, now NIMOS is on the ground. Wherever they move and people stop, there's improvement. Remember in 2018, when there was a ban, we reported about the improvement in our turbidity levels. Once the ban was lifted and people get back onto the mines and to the water bodies doing mining, our turbidity levels began rising again. So if NIMOS continue their activities and then spread wide, yes, I think the president made mention of the challenges in terms of thinning the army. But if we go wide and then take action against those who are doing the illegal mining, yes, there's the possibility that our water bodies will recover. I think one thing that people have to put their minds to is water is one of the earth powerful elements. It's one of the earth powerful elements that we have. If you leave water for some time, it has this self-cleansing capacity and is able to clean itself. So it is the action of the people on the ground that is what is polluting our water bodies. But once we have the military on the ground taking action, we believe that there will be improvement.
But can you tell us how many of our water bodies have been affected by the menace of illegal mining at the moment?
Generally, I would say it's the southwestern river bodies. Typically the Tano and Cobra, Pra, and then recently we are beginning to see, of course, Densu as well, and then recently we are beginning to see the Ayensu also suffering some challenges. The Volta Basin, which is about 70% of our main source of water, has not been severely impacted as we see in the southwestern river basin system.
But can you quantify this for us? We want to know the number of river bodies that have been affected so far.
Yeah, so that's what I've mentioned. So the Tano is one, the Pra is another one, the Densu, the Ayensu, the Butre. Brim is a tributary of the Pra. So when I mention Pra, it covers the Brim, Ofin, all our tributaries.
Our data shows that at least 8 water bodies or rivers have been affected so far. What you have in your repository, is it less or is more?
Yeah, so those are the ones I'm just mentioning.
But what you mentioned is less than 18.
18?
Yeah.
No, in the country we have 16 river basins. We don't have 18.
No, not basins.
Yeah.
Bodies that have been affected.
So,
you may have basins, but I mean basins are bigger than tributaries and other water bodies that have been affected.
Take typically the Volta Basin. It has the white Volta, the red Volta, it has Oti. On the main, we have Sene, we have Afram, Dodo. We have several of them. Likewise, if you come to Densu, you have or Ankobra, you have the Fumsi, you have the Bonsa, you have the Fore, we have the Mansi. These are all tributaries. So when you say which of them, and I mentioned the main river.
So out of the 16 basins,
yes,
can we say that about 8 of them have been affected by illegal mining?
Yes, we can say that. So, and that's what I've mentioned.
That's more than half. That's about half, right?
Yeah, but then if you look at the source, so it's not just about the numbers, but you're also looking at the size. So if we look at our surface water resources, the Volta gives us 70% of our water resources in this country. The remaining 30 is shared among...
But definitely the Volta Basin doesn't feed those in the central region. So for them that have had their water bodies destroyed, and for example, the Konyako water treatment plant is now no longer working, how do they get water?
Yeah, so with them, the first target is emergency services that government has to put in measures to get them water. So community water and sanitation has come out with a plan to go into the drilling of high-yielding boreholes that will supply them. We have also proposed to our sector ministry to look at a containerized system where we can apply reverse osmosis to remove some of these contaminants from our water bodies, and then they can be distributed to specific communities. And these containerized systems are movable. So you can move them from one community to community to clean the water and supply to the community.
All right, let's look at your renewed fight. Are you going to belong to the bigger umbrella of TUC organized labor, or UTAG is going to go solo this time around? You don't want maybe any form of betrayal?
Oh, no. So you see, that is not for me to sit here to make a decision. I think that initially I said that I am not seated here, to speak on behalf of UTAG, right? But let me address this. I think that Dr. Nyako talked about my first submission being baseless and something without merits, right? I see organized labor as a bigger organization, right? And so for you to even have the idea that you want to go on strike, to probably, as it were, push government to take action to probably fight or end galamsey, I want to believe that organized labor knew that going on strike for the purposes of galamsey wasn't a core mandate. I think you heard him.
Yes.
So if it wasn't a core mandate, then why do you even worry yourself to fight galamsey? So it means that the fight was actually lost at that decision point. You understand? Now, I think the second person,
Mr. Abraham Comson.
Yes, also talked about the fact that it wasn't organized labor that betrayed UTAG, right?
But he's blaming the nurses.
Exactly. I'm coming to that. So he talked about GMA, and he spoke about the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association, who backed out of it. How many associations or unions put together forms, how do you call it?
Organized labor.
Organized labor. So if two are backing out, what about the rest? What about the rest? The next question is this. What kind of negotiation was carried out? Discussion, did any discussion go on between organized labor, the leadership of organized labor, and the entire unions for them to agree that we were embarking on strike? I hope you get my question before you went in. But look, that tells you that the leadership of organized labor must sit up.
When you say must sit up,
not just.
What do you mean?
Not just to declare strike, but probably to have negotiations, to know who and who would back your decision. You understand? Before coming out to say that we are going on strike. So if you issue a statement that organized labor is going on strike, and then at the end of the day, you get your very members pulling out, what does it tell you? So, you see, that issue is what, for me, I feel that it didn't really go on well with us. Look, I am not in support of anybody thinking that galamsey should be politicized. All right. I believe that this menace of galamsey is something that everybody, including the president himself, you know, will bow down on his knees when galamsey actually, you know, begins to become so devastating to the nation. The president will bow. And that is why, for me, I believe that if you're a leader of organized...
The president must not wait. You see water bodies having over 94,000 NTUs in terms of stability levels.
My point is this.
There are research that shows that most of the food we eat are now contaminated. Babies are now being born deformed. So at what point are you still waiting? What the president still
don't really,
to
where
come
we
in
are now, we are at a critical point, and there is nothing beyond where we are now. That is my belief. Because you see, if the water that you drink, the water that you use to bath, the water that you use in cleaning your bowls and all that is contaminated with cyanide, contaminated with mercury. All right? Do you think you are safe?
So what is TUC? What is your decision? My question to you was...
My decision is that...
Are you going...
TUC, I'm saying that I wouldn't sit here to make a decision for...
But you are the vice president.
Yeah, I'm vice president for
UEW. What is your decision?
I am a member of NEC. Our processes, right, is to touch, to base, have negotiation with your members, all right, before they will tell you. So even the national president of UTAG cannot sit on a platform like this and then probably say that I am going to declare strike when members don't back that action. All right, so we have a process. That's why I'm saying that I cannot sit here, especially when I have not been mandated. But as an individual, I feel that where we are now is a critical point for every concerned organization, every concerned political party, every concerned individual, all right, should join and then make a decision that, look, galamsey has, you know, gotten to that peak where we need to give it much more attention, fight it with all the commitments, fight it with all the strength and all the resources that we have to be able to end it.
Okay.
Because our lives are threatened. You understand? Our lives, what we depend on, has gotten to that critical point that, look, tomorrow you can probably be suffering from, some kind of contamination.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how will you rate the president's fight against illegal mining the last 9 months?
Just on illegal mining,
yes,
not
galamsey.
His performance.
Not just galamsey.
Galamsey, 4 over 10.
4 over 10.
Yes.
So how will you rate the president?
I think before I come in with a rating, I think there is I need to put this correction there.
Yeah.
There's this lot of information about our food being contaminated. On this program, on this very studio, somebody was mentioning our rice. You may be eating rice that has arsenic. You see, there are rice producers who are already struggling in this country in terms of inputs, the sale of their rice. And when we raise this kind of temperature, we cause more problems for people. Where do we grow our rice in this country? Our rice
usually in the eastern parts, the Volta, yeah.
So Asuchari areas there. You go to the overseas up north.
Those areas are not affected by illegal mining.
So when we put all this information and then we are bringing examples from Bangladesh who suffered from arsenic contamination, it raises alarm that does not help anybody. Yes, it's important that this menace is fought straight on. And the best way that we can all fight it is when we stop putting accusing fingers at each other and all put our heads together and say, this must stop.
Okay.
So on the rating of the president, I think I can confidently give him 7 over 10.
7 over 10?
Yes, because it is not just about what we see on the ground, but the measures and how systematic they are. The fight is not an event. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It has to take time. You need to put in a lot of measures, education, stakeholder consultation.
But you see water data on a daily basis.
Sure.
And you think we need a marathon to fight a battle that is killing people?
Yes, because we began mentioning the issue of Ghana is likely to import water over 2 decades ago. It's not today. So as I said, to fight something that has been happening for over 2 decades, you cannot just get up one day and say, hey, everybody stop, and then that's
okay.
it.
So I mean, we'll go for a short break. After this short break, I'll come back to Dr. Autu and then Mr. Abraham Kumsin on TUC's decision, the direction they want to go, and what is different this time around. We'll be back. Stick and stay. Thank you very much for still staying here with us here on PM Express. Now, I mean, we need to look at TUC's current demands because it looks like they are not so different from the demands they made in September 2024. And I will walk you through. They said that September 2024, halt to all forms of mining, that is legal or illegal, in forest reserves and around water bodies. 2 was the immediate evacuation of all mining equipment in forest reserves and around water bodies. They still are present. The deployment of the police and the military with full orders, and they say, I want to repeat, with full orders to remove, destroy all mining equipment and other earth-moving equipment. There were other ones, including the declaration of state of emergency and the revocation of the LI and all of that. Same things being demanded this time around. And I remember before actually established that in 2024, you had to back down on your calls. You went to the negotiation table, government gave you assurances, and you decided that you were going to go with the assurances given by government. We have about 9 months into the reign of President John Dramani Mahama. It's similar, assurances being made. How confident are you that this time around it will be different from what happened in 2024? And the new demand, the new calls, your renewed calls, what is different from what you did in 2024? I would like to take the views of Dr. Autu.
It's unfortunate that we've been bickering over what happened in 2024 all this while, while the problem of illegal mining is getting worse by the day. Hello?
I can hear you loud and clear.
And I want to take the opportunity to take you through the different things the TUC is doing this time round. We decided on Friday, last Friday, to visit Kwenyaku, Enum, Apepemu, and Chebi, to witness for ourselves the devastation being caused by galamsey. In 2024, we didn't do that. We read the news. We watched the news from Joy TV. We read the news from all other angles.
So now you have the data.
This time round, we went to the river bodies ourselves. And in Kwenyaku, we were told that the plant is shut down. They are now trying to do some improvisation to be able to pump water and treat them for the people. But we were told that the turbidity level is now 94,000, which is the highest so far recorded. We went all the way along the Ayensu River to Enum, Apepemu. And what we witnessed there tells a different story from what we have been hearing in Accra. Somebody just talked about NIMO and the so-called blue water guards. We never saw them. What we saw are actually excavators on the River Ayensu. What we saw are a number of people in the forest where River Ayensu takes its source, actually mining. And what we saw are the experiences of people telling us that we shouldn't go further because our security will be at risk.
Even after the assurances we received from the president?
Exactly. We never saw the blue water gas. What we saw actually, and we have photos, we have recordings of what we saw. Okay. What we saw is the fact that today in Chebi, the Green River, the turbidity level is about 22,000. This is for a plant that was not made to handle turbidity level above 500. So this is the experiences we have gone through. And to be straightforward with you, the TUC on this trip never announced any measures. The TUC, in the press statement read by the Secretary General, indicated that after witnessing this, what we intend to do is that the structures of the TUC will be meeting in the coming weeks. And in those weeks, we will announce the measures we think we as TUC, and here not organized labor, we as TUC must do in collaboration and with government to end the illegal mining. But let me tell you a story that we heard along the way, which makes us believe that if we have political will, we can solve galamsey. In Enum Apepemu, there's somebody called, or we were told, somebody called Robert Lamte, who has a license for mining, small-scale mining in Enum Apepemu and its environs. He has a concession. What he does is that if I want to mine and acquire land, I go and see him, and he covers me with his license, and I pay money to him. I pay about 70,000 Ghana cedis to him. And then every week, whatever I make from that galamsey activity, I give him about 30% of it. And we know this individual in town. He's called Robert Lamte. Now, that Robert Lamte is an MPP person who, since after the MPP lost the election, is now in collaboration with Chairman Bibi. And Chairman Bibi is the NDC chairman for Akotia, who is now actively holding the license and doing the mining.
Because there's that form of collaboration.
Yes. So let nobody deceive us that galamsey, we all have to fight it, we all have to. These individuals, somebody must revoke their license because they are mining and actually working with people mining on the Ayensu River and in the Ayensu forest.
So in this case, you have an MC, an NDC MC involved?
chairman, which is the chairman of Akwatia,
okay.
Northern NC, and a former parliamentary candidate of MPP in Medina.
Parliamentary candidate?
Yeah, Robert Lamptey in Medina. And you are hearing this story for the first time, but we are most certain that all those who claim they are fighting galamsey, they know this. And you see, the stories we heard is that if the president organizes security men into the Ayensu forest or the river bodies, the moment they tell the people in the police in the Num Apepemu, that this day, that day, we are coming on a security swoop, they will never arrest anybody. Because the security people in the Num Apepemu and this environment will alert the illegal miners, and they will all vanish. This is the complexity of the fight. It's complex, but it's not too complex. If you have political will to go after the politicians, those in opposition and our own people, it is possible to fight galamsey.
But in your current renewed fight, would that include strikes?
As the Secretary General indicated, we will be announcing the measures. And at the core of these measures will be applying maximum pressure on government.
When you say maximum pressure, what do you mean? What pressure do you have, and what will be your maximum point?
Applying maximum pressure to get government into a Num Apepemu and its environment to make sure that those holding the license and those covering the illegal miners with their license are dealt with, the license revoked.
Timelines.
And of course,
do you have timelines?
At this stage of the fight against illegal mining, anything and everything must be deployed by the unions to make sure that there's maximum pressure on government to act.
So what timelines? What timelines are we looking at here?
In the next few weeks, the TUC will announce those measures.
Few weeks. Can you give us a specific, dates? If you can be specific.
It's about the decisions or the structures of the TUC, and I cannot give you.
So if you say few weeks, are we likely to see this before the end of this month or maybe early November?
Before the end of this month, yes, but also early November could be an appropriate time.
Okay. Mr. Abraham Kumson, I mean, you just heard your colleague narrating some of their observations when they went to the ground, but you still believe that state of emergency is not appropriate at the moment, it's not necessary at the moment?
No, I still feel that the state of emergency will not address the issues at all. It's going to be permanent state of emergency. And that cannot be. You see, because as my colleague is saying, if state of emergency will not be there perpetually, to be there for a period, then it has to be renewed or suspended. And that's the time that these criminals will go back and do whatever they want. See, I believe in the commitment of the president to deal with these issues. We see that is doing it. I don't think that if there's any information about any his party member or some official from the presidency or any of their branch, parties doing this, I think that the report should get to. And if the names that my colleague has mentioned, I will get details about him and forward it to the president, because I don't think that this is the president that will condone in such evil things. They will not do it, because if you look at the measures that they have started putting in place, I don't think that all what we need is the commitment of people who are going to enforce it. But
Mr. Kumson, I'm sure you agree with me that just about 4 years or 3 years ago, we had Operation Halt, Operation Vanguard. There were a series of operations that were carried out, and they had similar elements of what we are seeing now. I mean, doesn't this sound like a deja vu to you at the moment?
I have told you that we we have policemen. Some are not, very committed to whatever assignment that they have given to them. Some too are very good. There will be a policeman who will be minding traffic intersection. Somebody will just drive carelessly apart. He will stop the person and go and take something and then put it in his pocket and then let the driver go. Somebody will overload his vehicle and the policeman will stop. Instead of asking the driver to offload whatever, he will not do it, he will take money and then allow the person. So if you have characters like this in the security, there will be problems. So what I'm saying is that, you see, if you get the previous government, some people mention this chairman, that he is mining in
Are you talking about Woon to me?
Exactly. The president defended him openly. He said, no, it's not true. But I don't think that the current president will do that. He cannot do it. Well, if you look at the message that they are putting, look, I've checked from US, China, Australia, South Africa, but the whole world, wherever there is mining. This, state of emergency is not apply there. What they do, the laws are enforced. They make sure that the laws work. They use drones to check. That is all.
All right.
What is the enforcement? It's the enforcement that matters. So if the president himself is conflicting, the president himself is also having some forest reserve named after him, the president forest, and he's mining.
All right. Sure. Thank you very much. I mean, you scored the president 4/10. You still believe that maybe we are not there yet in terms of the state of calling for a state of emergency, and in fact, the call from TUC, are you going to join or you're going to go solo this time around again?
I think that UTAG has a different methodology to deal with galamsey. And our leadership have tasked the committee.
Does that include a state of emergency?
No, everything I think is geared towards the issues regarding the repeal of LI 2462 and state of emergency. But we are picking up from a different angle, to, as it were, also bring to the table, evidence. We know that government has enough evidence, all right, but we equally would do our own survey, come up with our own evidence, and then probably push it to government for consideration, of which we will even move further.
Timelines, if you can, because we just have about 30 seconds.
For timelines, I can't speak now because I'm not part of that committee. So what I am trying to say is that, UTAG has a process in place now, to also bring it up. I still believe, like you asked, that where we are at that critical point that the president should be able to take firm, decisive, actionable decisions,
All right.
And probably move to the extent. I mean, Ghanaians voted for him, and Ghanaians voted based on certain campaign messages that were laid there. And so we believe that the president, when it comes to the fight against galamsey, he should be able to do that.
You have the last point. I mean, state of emergency or no state of emergency from the standpoint of the Water Resource Commission?
No, I think no state of emergency. The reason simply is that if we declare state of emergency, you are rewarding those who are doing the illegalities and punishing those who are desirous to do what is right by going for their permits and their license to do legal business. If you declare state of emergency, it means all of them will have to stop work. We should rather focus on, as Dr. Nyako said, identifying those who are doing the wrong thing. Like he mentioned, Robert Lamptey. What he's practicing is illegal. It is practicing what we call the tributary system, which was stopped by the Minerals Commission. So he's doing an illegality. So we should identify those ones and punish them.
All right. Point well made. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is where time will allow us to peg our conversation. This has been PM Express with me, Isaac Ofeje. Enjoy the rest of your evening.